great one for you guys today. And it's going to be even better because let me tell you, I am internal struggling it up right now. Oh my God. So,
am I getting
we're
echo?
live.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. We are live. We are live on all the places. And we need to have a chat, clearly,
We're
first
here.
and
Yeah.
foremost. Because we're doing life and it's a struggle. And that's the whole point of these sessions, is to be like, what's going down, Ree? What's going down? And I got stuff going down too. So
Oh man.
let's just get that all on the plate first. And then we'll talk about whatever needs to be talked about and our topic.
Well, I think it kind of goes in with our topic because our topic is be yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm trying and I'm trying, but every time it's like, oh, I'm it's like I'm fighting with myself to be myself, like going out there and like, just putting up videos. And lately it's this week has been hard. This week has been really hard with the postings. And for those of you guys who follow me on different places, I'm sorry I haven't been up to it, but like, it's just been hard. And I've been so critical of like, my stuff's not good enough. And just scattery of like, okay, I need to do this and I need to do this and I need to do this, but I feel like I need to do all these things because that's what I'm supposed to do. Now that I'm trying to, get on with social media and bring wisdom to the world, this is what I'm supposed to do. People are supposed to like my stuff and it's for them. And then I'm just, oh my God, I'm crushing myself. Like this week I've really had that feeling that you had a couple of days ago, our only call that we've had this week, where I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like little Rita's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to go take a nap. But this time it wasn't a nap. It was, my body is really feeling it. Like, oh my God, my shoulders are so tight. And I went to my chiropractor yesterday, who is a magician, by the way, but like, and today, like I'm just feeling it. It's just my body is just rejecting everything that I have internally been trying to or struggling to process for the last few days, and it's added up. And now it's like my body's like, all right, cool, we're done, we're out. You're on your own.
Yeah. So I feel like doing a little circle or two. Let's dig into that, because you remember the first stage of alchemy is nigredo, which is deconstruct and neutralize the ego, because that's what's going on right now. We all get it. Your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs is taking over, and it sends you down a crazy path of like, and you end up being dysfunctional, and then it just feels crappy, and you can't focus on your craft, and you're not happy, and whatever it is. We all get it. It's life. But the first thing we want to do, and it's funny because everything you're saying is absolutely what I'm going through as well. And so let's work with you first, and then if
remember, we're like, maybe it's a full moon, and it was, and we're like, oh, maybe it's the moon energy, and maybe it's this, and there's. Which it is, but like I can't blame the moon anymore for what's happening. This is like
it's your fault, moon.
I'm done.
I can just see you out there shouting at the moon, standing on the street. You actually did that, didn't you?
I've done
you
that.
Did it. You did it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so now why don't we just settle in for a second, and I actually want to use the energy that we've got at the moment, because I don't want to I want to calm it down a little bit. So we will just take a few breaths, and then we're going to go straight into a question and straight into uncovering more truths of what's really going on. But I don't want to go way low down, because I want to keep this buzz that's going. Like I feel like there's some energy there that needs to come out, and some words that want to come out. So I don't want to totally get rid of it, but I do want to just set some focus and bring us into the room, bring us into this space. So just for a moment, just take a few slow deep breaths. That's all we're going to do for a few minutes, and you know how to do it, which is essentially make sure that breath goes all the way into the base of your belly. And try and make them slow and calm as possible, and smooth as possible, and even if you can as well. And if there's any thoughts running around your head and any tension in your body, I just want you to gently invite them to just to move to the side, if you like. Imagine all the stuff in your head that's like shouting for attention, and just imagine pushing it aside, away, out of your head. Maybe it's just in the periphery now. Or maybe you can imagine that all these little crazy little gremlins in your brain that are shouting for attention are like little bubbles, and they're just rising up out of your head and popping up above away into the atmosphere. Just release as best you can anything going on in your head and also anything going on in your body. So just consciously drop your shoulders, even if you can't get them all the way relaxed. If there's tension there, just do your best to just allow them to flop. Rest your arms down, rest your legs, your hips. Allow your back to soften a little. Maybe even just sit back in your chair. And deep breaths. And as you exhale, really let yourself release, like release the tension. Imagine all that tension, all those thoughts just going out with your breath as you breathe out. And now all I want you to do is just imagine that in front of you there is an intention for working through this challenge that you're having right now, that I'm also having. But for you, we were going to focus on you first. So just a little bit of an intention I'd like you to set on this circle. This is your intention. And as you move through this circle, you're going to get clarity on what that intention is, to get clarity really on what the challenge is at the moment. And just choose to be of service to yourself. And I'll choose to be of service to you. And we're going to start actually by doing a reading. So obviously there's a lot of ego stuff going on right now. I feel like I want to call it the identity, more than the ego. I'm feeling the word identity. Rita's identity is running the show right now. So we want to hear more about what that identity is thinking, feeling, what it's doing right now, what it's focused on. What is it focused on? I feel like that's an important question. So just imagine that there's a circle in front of you. So clean out any other circles you might still have that you were doing a minute ago. A fresh circle. And this one we're going to label Rita's identity true focus. So what is it truly focused on right now, which has been causing this slump that you've been having? So I'm going to set that circle as well. And you're just going to move through into that circle. Stand in it, see it around you, whatever works. We're going to see what's obvious. What is Rita's identity? And when we say identity, that's your beliefs about who you think you are, your body, your mind, your experience in this world as a physical being, as a psychological being, how you think everything works, who you think you are. This construct, this idea, it's just an idea. It's just one big idea. And it has an idea about this world. And it's running the show right now based on those ideas. So we're just going to get more about what is that thinking right now? What is it doing? What's obvious about what your identity is focused on?
What's all? Well, just now in my head, I just went to like 1,000 different places and came back. So what's so obvious to me is that there's no focus. There is absolutely no focus. I am lacking focus. And so I'm like running around like a turkey with my head cut off in my head, and then just kind of picking up the pieces of, oh, I got to do this and I got to do this. And like, here's my list of 1,000 things. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to pick and choose like random things on the list. And like, I did half of this and then I've got to do this and I've got to do this. But then there's other things I have to do. And it's just like, it's such chaos. There is a wild chaos in my identity. And I'm feeling like I'm so busy, right? I'm so busy. And like, yes. And I look back and I'm like, well, I've accomplished 2 things today. And then I feel like crap because I'm like, I haven't done anything because my focus was all over the place. And if I just stopped, maybe I'd be able to do a lot more. But it's like but I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. And just that go, 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 go. Where the hell am I going? Like I'm running. Like I'm on this, this racetrack to get to the finish line, but there's no finish line. There isn't a finish line. There isn't one there. Right? There isn't a finish line there. And it's like, I pass, it's like I'm in a race with myself and I pass myself and then I'm like, oh, nope, got to beat myself again. Nope, got to be, and then got to go faster. It doesn't matter if I'm like dropping stuff on the way, and it's just got to get there. And I'm literally picturing myself in this like kid story of like, you know, the tortoise and the hare, and I'm the hare and I'm running, but I'm not stopping to take a nap, but there is no finish line, and I'm just going and going and going. And I forget that I'm even in a race. It's just nonstop. It's just, I don't know where I'm going. I don't have any direction. I just caught up in the momentum. Yeah.
Now something's coming through to me now that I want to follow through. Is as you were talking, what becomes obvious to me is that your identity isn't focused on the running into any particular direction, which is why you don't have a direction. It's actually trying to run away from something else. So what's obvious to me about what you're running away from? All this busyness, all this doing, all this stuff, all this with no direction, just chaos and noise. It's trying to distract you from something else. So let's just tune into that. What is it running away from? So what's obvious to me, let me see if I can just go there. Rita's identity running away. Okay, what's obvious to me about what it's running away from is there's a lot of fear. Like it's very scared of what it's running away from. It's just got a lot of fear, and even to the point where like it's terror and it's tears. Like it really scares, your identity is really scared to go to the thing that it's running away from. And if you were to go to the thing that it's running away from, actually it feels like it's almost like there's some kind of abyss there, some kind of thing that it doesn't know what it is. We don't know what it is. But there's a block. It's almost like it doesn't even want to face what it's running away from. And it's just sort of keeping a black hole. It's like a black hole. I'm running away from a black hole, but there's something in there that it doesn't want to face. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to want to actually go there, which gives me an indication that it's something actually quite deep in terms of what am I going to find? What am I going to find if I stop? What am I going to find if I jump? What am I going to find if I go into the darkness? What am I going to find if I go into darkness? What if I stop trying to be happy and light and giving everyone everything and fun and joy and what if I stop that and actually face the darkness that is hidden in there somewhere? Because we all have that. What might I find? And I don't think there's any answer to that until you go there. But what feels very obvious to me is that the whole movement of there's so much to do, I'm so busy, there's go, go, go. That whole thing is a running away from something. And I feel like if we progress with this, we could get more clarity on what that is. But that's exactly why there's no direction to it, or it feels very chaotic and sporadic and all over, but also doesn't quite fulfill you, because it's not coming from your soul, your higher self, as a movement towards a clear goal. It is actually entirely ego driven. But again, ego has no clear direction in that respect. It's trying to get away from something, stillness. It's trying to get away from silence and stillness and stopping. What would happen if you sat down and stopped in silence and didn't do stuff? What would arise? My sense is what would arise is that I think you'd feel some kind of loneliness. You'd feel a bit of emptiness. Like, who am I without what I do? Who am I without my output? Who am I without my physical actions? Who am I without my actual acting in this world and somehow doing something physically in this world? If I don't do that, who am I? Am I nothing? Am I worthless? Am I empty? Am I lost? Because I'm not proving myself. I'm not showing myself. I'm not shining. I'm not having people say, oh yeah, look, she did this for me and that for me. I'm not having anyone calling on me for anything. So then does that make me totally pointless and worthless? if I just stopped. And so my sense is that your identity's answer to that is yes. It makes me totally pointless and worthless. And that's a very, very scary, all but untrue, but to the identity it's very true, a very scary thought. And if I just stop, everything turns dark, everything turns gray. It's almost like I have to keep the light and the color of my wing. If I stop, it's going to go off and it's going to go gray and it's going to go dark. And that's going to be a horrible, miserable place for me to be. So I have to work to keep the light and the color and the fun and the rainbows and the progress. And that's why I'm always doing all this stuff to keep the lights on, Because if I don't keep the lights on, the lights are going to go off in my world. And that's a dark, scary place. And so my sense is that,
sorry, just when you were saying all of that, I think I can actually see into the circle. I see it. It's this huge fear of, like you said, just stopping and slowing down and just being still. And it's not loneliness, but it is the fear of starting over because of all these courses and everything that I'm doing right now, and the unknown of where that's going to take me. And how am I going to get there? How am I going to, education has just been such a fearful thing for me in terms of I never want to go back to school. I've done it, it's finished, it's done. But now I'm learning again, which is great. And I love learning, but it's just stopping and learning and focusing completely on it and being okay with that. Just being okay with not producing any output and not having any, how are you going to make money and how are you going to do this? And those are all the fears that are associated with the image of just me sitting there at a table and just learning for the sake of learning, and then intuitively seeing where that takes me, and that unknown of it might change the course of what I want to do. It might, take me somewhere else, but it's this huge fear of stopping and not producing while I'm doing that, and that lack of identifying with who I really am without
and who I am is what I do. Yeah. So if I stop doing, who am I? And that's the thing that is very scary to the identity.
Oh,
and the thing is that can we go into view this from the soul? Because I'm starting to go there now. So if you just call through that image of whatever comes up for you around this truth that we're uncovering, which is who I am is what I do. And if I stop doing, who am I? And am I nothing? Am I worthless? Am is all the light going to go off because I'm the one who has to keep it going? I have to create all of this. So there's that image of, go to the image of the part of your identity that is scared of, if I stop doing, who am I? Where does that leave me? And I just want you to step into a soul circle. So just draw one around you. Soul circle. I feel like soul is the right word here. And just observe this image of yourself, scared to stop, thinking, who am I if I don't do stuff? And how does your soul see it? From the soul, what's obvious to you?
My soul's laughing. I literally am like a headless chicken. It's like Rita's legs. My soul is just like, what are you doing? It's just this still image of me just being there, and every other this part of me is just running away from stillness, and my soul sees that so clearly. In my soul, and from my soul, for myself, there isn't much movement and external movement required. It needs to be completely internal. It's all internal. And in what's happening is it's all external. And it's all for some sort of fulfillment. It's all chasing a fulfillment and chasing a self-fulfillment, which will never happen because it doesn't exist on the external side. And there will always be something. And on the internal side, it's like my soul just sees that the wisdom's already coming. I already know I'm already growing. I just need to stop and just be there with it in stillness, literally in stillness.
So I'm just going to step into that soul circle. And what becomes obvious to me is that, and as we already know, the identity that has these ideas about who am I unless I'm doing something, I have to achieve, I have to prove whatever, is a little child. And so how do we treat a child when they are going through strife, when they are going through pain or whatever it is? We treat them with compassion. We treat them with care. We treat them with love. And my sense is that that's all that part of you is grasping for right now, is a little love and attention in whatever way it's needed, which we may probe into in a moment, to be okay with whatever it feels and wherever it's at. Sorry, I lost it there. I'm getting distracted by noises. It's someone cooking something. Okay, right, let me go back into that. So yeah, I mean, and what becomes very, very obvious to me is that that part of you that feels this need to run away from this, pain of what if I don't do anything and who am I then? It needs compassion. It needs nurture. It needs, not in terms of like feeding it and pandering it, but just really treat it with love and compassion rather than to sort of like dismiss it or run away from it, or think that it's silly or anything like that. It's very much it's a scared little child, right? It's a scared little child that decided at some point in its life, in order to be viable in this world, I must do. I must please. I must perform. I must perform. That's the word I get. I must perform. And it's like, what, are you in a circus show here? Like, what do you think you're doing on this planet? Like, you're not what are you? Like trying to and this is the funny thing, it's like when that side of you, the identity, wants to think it needs to perform to be viable, it does end up being a clown. Life does end up being a circus because it's that part of you that's trying to perform. And so none of your performance, but here's the thing, the soul is also here to perform. But the soul performs with grace and beauty and elegance and genius and creativity and clarity and calm and just flow and ease and gracefulness, like a ballet dancer. But on the other side, your ego is trying to perform, and I'm just seeing a clown with those big fucking shoes, like running around with the squeaky horns trying to make people laugh. And it's like, that doesn't work here. Like, you think it works and you're trying, but you forgot who you are. You're a graceful ballet dancing swan. That's the soul's performance, not the clown that's like jumping around trying to get a laugh, trying to get a cheap laugh, to be honest. A lot of these, it's trying to get a cheap laugh, it's trying to do a cheap circus trick act that is so dull, really, and doesn't get many results because no one finds that stuff funny. That's the ego's trying to prove itself and perform. But the soul is also here to perform, but does it from such beauty and grace and inner genius and creativity and flow and ease. And so it's the two different sides trying to perform. So it's not about stop performing. It's not about don't do anything then, Ree, because you're just chasing, running away from emptiness. And yeah, okay, cool, we can see that. That's fine. We've seen it. We're bringing it to the surface. That's what we need to do. That's good. But to me, the answer is not stop performing and sit down and stop. The answer is switch your energy of performance to come from your soul rather than your ego. So what does that mean? Spend some time each day going into your soul circle, going into your choices, going into the vision of those, and take your inspired actions from there, and don't do anything more than that. It feels like less is more, but it might not even be less. I don't know. It depends what your genius tells you that you need to do. But before you act, step in a soul circle, step in a vision, So, because your clown is running, right? The clowns go, go, go. We've got to do stuff. We've got to perform and do crappy tricks to try and get a laugh and try to get life moving, try and show myself, whatever it, all this ego stuff, right? And it's just on, it's go, go. So you have to find those moments where you become aware and you stop. And rather than letting the clown go into the circus and try and perform, you move off to the side and you step into your soul circle. And you ask, what is in my soul's highest good to do right now, or today, or this week, or whatever feels true for you, or just in this moment. And you take guidance from your soul and you get in the energy of your soul. That's the most important. Don't just jump in and go, what should I do, soul? Go into your greatness, go into the golden circle, go into your truth, get into the energy of it until you feel it. And then ask, what is in my highest good to do right now? And then move from there. So it's not that we don't perform the world, but what part of you is performing? So that is a full circle where I go to on that. And how are you doing? I'm going to open my eyes now.
Amen.
I don't know where I just went for like 10 minutes. That was really nice. I liked it.
That was really nice. I love the image of the clown because I see it. Yeah, no, that was it. I needed that. Yeah, that's it.
Jimmy,
I think that's it.
That was really good. And I'd put Rita on full screen, which I don't normally do because I really just wanted to focus on you. Like, I find that one of the things that happens on these lives is I'm so focused on everyone else and the buttons and and I forget what we're here to do, right? Is to be doing life and to use the tools. And this is what we used to do in coaching. And I love doing that. And I feel like so much comes from it. So I just got everything out of the way and I was only focused on you, which I think I really enjoyed doing. So now I'm back in the other screen and now I can see that Jimmy is here. So we got to catch up with Jim. So let's see what Jim's been saying. I'm not good enough belief. Yes, we had that. He says, hello, Jimmy. And I thought you were going to see your mum, Jim. I told Reed before we started, I said, Jimmy's not with us today.
I was upset.
Jim says compulsive trying, overachieving strategies, lots of shoulds, always looking to better oneself. Yeah, it's about performing to your true nature. I like that last bit very much. Yeah. So, I feel like inadvertently and through magic, because that's how it happens, we've basically done the whole episode all in one intuitive thing. And we didn't plan for it. It's all in that way.
And I do think just even having like come up with, intuitively, we came up with the topic and that's what we wanted to talk about because obviously there's something there, right? And when we started, it was like, yeah, of course. And then as I thought, I did my sessions with myself and just kind of went more into it. I went from like here to because it was a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
There was that mind, body, soul disconnect. And so I felt it. My body is feeling it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So I think we the first question we had up, which we'd love for other people to join in with as well, is what and who are you trying to be? And I think we uncovered a little bit of that there as well. Rita's trying to be the clown. And I'm trying to
be the love. But yeah, I'm trying to be the
performer, right?
I'm juggling too much and trying to serve someone else's purpose and trying to fulfill someone else's vision. I'm not in my vision. Exactly. As what's his name? Phil Feelgood says. Right? That's his
Phil Good. He's on Instagram.
Phil Good?
Something like that.
I call him Phil Feelgood, yeah.
Phil Good. Phil Good. I don't know. I just call him Phil.
Yeah, it's like you're not in your vision. You're living when you're in that chaos. That's someone else's vision. You're when they're like, I want to see more recipes, and you're serving. You're literally delivering what they need. It's their vision.
Exactly. Oh, Auntie says hello. Hello, Auntie. And Jimmy said he's been and come back already from his mum. Well, I hope your mum is well and I hope you had a nice time. Hello, people on Instagram, anybody who's there. So, as you're saying, this topic was all about, being yourself versus all the masks that we wear and all the fakeness that we have in our lives, and how that can drive us down such dysfunctional roads, right? And, like we said, who are you trying to be? You're really just trying to be the one that pleases everybody else, the one that does everything for everyone else. And then you wonder why you're sort of all over the place and not feeling fulfilled, because you've lost track of your own purpose, your own true nature, your own focus, your own vision. And that's not a happy road to go down, right? I just feel like I want to go back and just close off really what we just did. Because I feel like I then got excited because I saw comments, and I feel like I didn't really, again, imagining if that was a coaching session, we would have simmered with that for a minute. And I think it really needed a bit of a minute to simmer. So where we got to with that is, I just want to reiterate what also really landed for me. As always, this is never just about an individual, right? Whenever you're doing something, you always get something from it as well. And for me, it also really landed. It's like, which part of you is performing? So there's the clown or the soul, the graceful swan, as I saw in that vision, versus the clown. And that for me was so it's not about don't perform, it's which part. And so is there anything you want to say, Ree, just to wrap up and around that whole what we just did?
No, I think it was just really important for me to take away, especially with my personality and my beliefs and values that I've had and been performing within for my whole life, is just that little bit. It doesn't have to be big steps, and it's like I'm in a rush and I got to stop, and to do that, I need to literally, for each action, maybe for a little while, go back into the habit and create a habit of going within my soul and just really immersing myself in that feeling of my soul. And then from that, letting something arise, because we've seen it every time we do something from that place. It's freaking magical.
I know.
The questions, the actions, the creativity that comes up. Like I sat there trying to make a banner for our Be Yourself for literally for 4 hours. And I went and I tried everything, and I did all these things of like these ideas I had in my head.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I went, well, this looks like crap. Nothing's working. And
Yeah.
I had to stop, and I went within, and and so I think I need to do that for everything.
It's actually a really good point, and a really interesting point, because as we know, ego is your default. And so you will naturally go into everything that you want to do from that space. In most cases. And like you say, when we're in creative flow, we just fly. Remember when we first started the show, and it was like, how should we do our sessions? And it was like, ask this question, ask this question, ask this question, ask it, go, boom. And then it was like, oh, I need logo. In 2 days, Rita's like, not even 2 days, probably like 20 minutes. Rita's like, here, do you like this logo? I was like, yeah, I love it. Great, done. And then it's like, right, we need a live stream. Let's go on live stream. Right, done, go. Let's book it next week. We're going. And it just was that effortless creative flow. And we both know what that feels like, whether it's when we're working together or when we're working on our own projects, where you lose track of time. It's the ease, the flow. You're in connection with universe, with genius, and you're receiving content, ideas, creativity, and you are so energized by that whole process. And that, to me, is the grace of the soul performing in the physical world. But exactly like you say, like you're saying, you can spend 4 hours trying to do something from your head, from your ego, from your trying to prove, trying to please, or whatever it is. And actually, sorry, I just got a call on Instagram, got cut off. And like you said, I've had like 4 days doing that on something I was supposed to be doing last week. I just couldn't get into it. Because again, what was I focused on? I was focused on performing for the audience as opposed to expressing my truth. 2 very different things. And I spent 4 days. I couldn't get into this piece of work. I had to do it. I tried. It was so painful. And I just wasted time. And then finally, what did I do to get into the flow? I must have used one of these tools, but I did I think I maybe just did like a conflict deconstruction, and then went back into like, what do I love? Went back into the soul space of truth. And then it just started flowing. Then it just started coming out. And, I got the work done, but I really struggled because, again, it was that I'm trying to perform. And for me, it tends to be, as we were talking about, sometimes we're trying to perform as something, sometimes we're trying to hide something in ourselves. And for me, it was, I need to hide any possible flaws or imperfections. So I can't, like, this piece of work has to be perfect. That ridiculous word that causes so many pain and so many lives. Is so much pain in so many people's lives. Here
So
we
many
go.
pains. It's growing
So many
pains, right?
pain.
Performance
But
pains.
that's it. So many, and
Does that bring
because
us? Sorry, I was going to say, does that bring us to our second question, though?
yeah, which is about what do you? To be honest, I've just turned those off for a second. I think I feel like we need to flow for a minute.
Yeah,
Because the structure just keeps distracting me.
yeah.
So basically, I've decided that's what we're gonna do. We will look at them as well, but that does lead in exactly to that second one, which is around
What are you hiding from?
yeah, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? Which is I've lost it now.
Your
Yeah, for me,
imperfections.
imperfections, and so this is it. I can't be myself because myself is also imperfect in terms of my ego, my identity, all that sort of stuff, my flaws. And I'm so scared to let that out. I'm so scared for people to see that. I'm so scared for, particularly in certain scenarios. And so I'll spend hours and hours and hours doing something, trying to make it perfect. And it just gets harder and worse and more complicated and more confusing. And the piece of work that starts out as like a really beautiful piece of creative work ends up into a pile of crap because I've just taken all the magic out of it, all the beauty out of it, all of the color, all of the creativity, all of the artisticness out of it because I've been trying to make it into something that has to be like, so no one can question it. It can't go wrong. And it's going to be perfect. And it's going to be everything that they want to see and hear. And oh my God.
So why?
And,
I ask
huh?
you, why? Why do you do
Why
that?
do I
Why do you
do
hide from
that?
it?
Oh, shame. I can't handle shame. I cannot handle shame. That feeling of shame of like my face goes red as a tomato and like I'll probably start sweating like in just a couple places, upper lip, eyebrows, start sweating. And like I want to run away. Like I would probably beat Usain Bolt in 100-meter if I was in a state of shame because I'd be like, mate, trust me, you ain't got nothing on this because I want to get out of there. And that I know comes from my upbringing, as all of these patterns do, and I know in our culture often as well, not for everybody, but shame is really a strong controlling emotion. The shame if you don't do what the culture expects of you, the shame if you don't do as your parents expect of you, and get married to a certain person at a certain time and have a certain number of babies and learn how to make a roti that was round. And did you do this? Did you do that? Do you clean up? Do do your in-laws think that you're the most perfect daughter-in-law? Blah, blah, blah. And everywhere you look, there's like a shame, 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 judgment, shame, judgment, shame. And I grew up with that. And on top of that, I had that really difficult battle of having Indian cultural upbringing and very strict parents with all their shame and judgments and control of how things should be versus growing up in a white English area where everyone was not living like that, not like that. And I was in the middle, like, I don't know which way to go. If I go that way, I'm gonna get in trouble at home. If I go that way, the people out there think I'm weird. I don't know. And either side was shame. Either side was shame. Either shame from my parents or shame from the world out there of people who didn't understand me because I was the only brown in the village.
I
And
just,
so the whole thing, can I just finish before
yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
on
yeah.
but I've lost it now. God. But that was it. It's essentially shame is a big factor for me. Always has been. And so my life and my egoic life is predicated around avoiding things that make me feel ashamed. And therefore I cannot be myself because I'm constantly trying to be what other people want. Because if I'm not what they want, they're going to get angry or they're going to make me feel ashamed of myself in some way, or I'm going to be experiencing shame because then no one can make you feel anything, right? It's your own programming. But that's exactly essentially where it's at for me. Go.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I mean, I just want to chime in on the brown part because the brown
Mm,
parent part, I think, um, I've always said like, oh, my parents, I mean, not that they didn't have any expectations of me, but I just feel like they didn't push me towards stuff. But, just kind of thinking about it and over the week, just processing it, it's been there, right? That whole like, oh, like it's not even in the direct sense of going, you should be a doctor, it's more like, well, what are you doing? But what are you gonna do? Oh, your friend did this. Well, that's amazing. What about you? And my parents never, like, bless them, I love you guys, mom's watching. They've never come out and said it. And my mom has been very supportive of what we, like, being your actual true self, right? But my dad's still a bit more like, dad, brown dad, like, well, what are you going to do? Well, have you gone to
Yeah.
university? Well, what are you doing with your education? Well, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to throw it all away? And that's what led me. So my thing is failure, right? And it's that fear of failure. And it's just like, okay, well, I have to show them all these things that I could achieve without being the molded, perfect brown little, like, Indian girl, right? I'm not going to be in my mold, because I'm not this brown little Indian girl going to follow the rules and all that. I'm a rebel. I've always been a rebel, and I am unique. And I believe that I'm unique because the part of my soul does shine through me. But I'm still going to put that in a vehicle and, like, run to do 4 different jobs and, like, work my ass off and be really busy and make all this, money doing 17,000 different things, just to be like, see, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I'm doing what I
Yeah.
want to do, the way I want to do it, but I'm doing
Yeah.
it. And I didn't become a doctor or a lawyer. And look at me, I'm so happy doing it. Don't get me wrong. I have loved a lot of my, working in hospitality and traveling and working in tech and all these crazy jobs that I've done, and HR, which is my actual study, and then becoming a yoga teacher, and then coming down this path. And it's all been amazing, but then getting lost in those moments. So I become myself and my real self. And then it's like, oh shit, but I haven't achieved anything. So like, now I have to, like, run to achieve something, because, like, if I fail, then my dad's going to be like, what the hell? Like, what have you done? Look at your friend. Look at your friend who's doing the same thing. You're not good enough. That same, like, the question for me as a brown girl, and I've seen this in a lot of, with a lot of friends of mine too, growing up, is, oh, but look at her. I'm going to do a little bit of a brown accent, not too much, like, but look at her. Look at what she's done. She's done her master's and her PhD now, and she's making such good money, and she's got 3 kids, Look at you, 35, 36. What are you doing with your life? So what I'm doing with my life is a clear reflection of, comparison of what so-and-so have done with their life, right? And so that's why being brown is especially like it's you're constantly being compared to the people around you. And if you do have that one friend that's a rebel like you, and it's like, acha, okay, well, what? Well, she's not in university? No, don't be friends with her. She's not a good person. She's not in university, so she's not a good person. Like,
I know.
Listen to the things that we get told, right? And of course, in that moment, you're not like, what do you mean? But that's why. So it's like, for me, it's like failure. Be yourself. But then it's like, okay, create a video, and it's like, oh, hey guys, I just shared this, and then I get calls, right? Brother, dad, mom, someone, friends going, yeah, if you just did this, or maybe if you just changed this, and maybe if you just did this. And it's like, by the time I'm done editing with everybody else's, maybe if I just, it's not mine anymore. It's not my creation anymore, right? It's not what I wanted. And that's where I'm like, oh, well, I'm doing my next one. And I'm like, oh, but I have to take all these factors into account. So my creativity is already shut out the door. And but now I've made one, so now I have to make 10 more, because I'm just not, they're not fulfilling me. So if I made one that's not, I've made 10 that are unfulfilling versus one that's really fulfilling. I'm just chasing, and that's so much clarity. That's where it is. That achievement. I'm not being myself. I'm covering myself with all these things that I should be doing to please someone else. But I tell myself that I'm being my true self. I truly want to be a doctor, because my parents were doctors, and that's what I really want, and that's what I've wanted my whole life. It has nothing to do with the fact that they may have brainwashed me growing up. It has nothing to do with my biases that may have risen from why I want to become a doctor. But my parents are doctors. I'm a doctor. It's what I truly wanted. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So many people living that lie.
Maybe you are, but you don't. Chances are, I don't know.
You said a number of things there, and I've forgotten them all. My brain is obviously not on today. Do apologize, but you said so many things that I wanted to then reflect on. Because as you were talking, why didn't I write it down? I got a pen here and a paper. Did I use it to write my thoughts down? No. Okay, I get one of those. Thanks. But there are a couple of things that let me go with the one that I can remember, which is, as you were talking about how everyone else's opinions come into play around what you should do with your creative work. And it just reminded me of what I was reflecting on earlier today as well, which is the levels of creativity that we get taught in some of these courses. And the bottom one is imitation. So you're just imitating other people. Then you get skilled imitation, which is, okay, I'm sort of copying someone else, but I'm getting quite skilled at it and I'm quite good at it. Then there's like, I can't remember what the name of these, what these two actually mean, but there's low level derivative and high level derivative. So now you're getting a little bit more innovative, doing something a little bit more different, but essentially you're not in the last one, which is genius. And here's the definition of genius creators. They are entirely self-referenced. Everything they do is internally referenced. Is it right for me? Is it in my truth? Is it in my genius? Is it in my creative soul? Then I do it. And they don't listen to anyone else. Not to say you don't seek wise counsel and things, but particularly when it comes to their craft, because only they can see their craft. Only they can see in their mind's eye and in their heart what that vision is. The other people can't see it. So it's not the same as saying, oh, I need some guidance on, like, maybe I could like buy this computer or buy that computer or buy, that's a bit different, but when it's guidance on my craft and my heart and my creativity, how can anyone guide you on that when they can't see your soul? So they don't know your vision. They cannot see it. Only you can see it. And that's what genius does. That's what genius is. Entirely so in that scale from genius down the bottom to imitation, it goes from entirely self-referenced internally, and the bottom is entirely externally referenced. So I'm just copying people out there doing what everyone out there is doing. And that's why you create either naff stuff or nothing really particularly impressive, or something that doesn't really make a big impact and help people and that people aren't really interested in, and it just blends in. Are you a blender in, Rita? I don't think so. So stop blending in. And I don't think you know, but you know what I'm saying though, these little things. And I think this is, okay, I don't know what's going on. Just randomly slap yourself in the face. It's okay. We don't condone that to anybody out there. We're not condoning any harm, but
that's what it is, right? Because you're there and then you're literally slapping yourself in the face, and
you are
and then what do you do when you can't be yourself?
William calls it slitting your spiritual wrists.
Yeah,
and it's a very strong but a very important line. And that's what happens when you're not being yourself, right? That's it. And
then you feel like this, and you feel it in your body. You feel it in you're tired, or you're angry. Different emotions arise from it, right? However you're I guess mechanically, and I say mechanically based on your life, tuned to react is how you're going to react. And for me, I keep it in because I keep going and going and going until my body breaks down. And so my body's like, we're breaking down because you need to reevaluate where the hell you're going, right?
Exactly. That line, there's a couple of lines that coming to me. One of them, which was the other one that I forgot earlier, when you were talking about how, you'll create something and then other people will say, no, create it like this, create it like that, do it like that. And there was a wonderful quote that I really love, that says, society says, be yourself. And then it goes, no, not like that. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what this is. Oh yeah, be you. No, not quite like that. Not quite, So that really rings.
Do you have the other one? Because I've got one from the quiz.
What did I say? Oh no, what was I talking about before I said I had the quotes? Yeah, what did I say before that?
I don't know.
What were we talking about before that? Oh man, I was going to pause and rewind.
We were just talking about just going and going, and my body breaks down. That's how I react to things, right? And that's
perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So the other thing was around how they talk about how your soul whispers and you ignore it, and then your soul, or we can say your intuition as well, your intuition whispers, you ignore it, then it prods you a bit, And it's like, come on, and you ignore it. And then it's like, slap your face a little, and you're like ignoring it. And then it's like, boom. And that's when you,
Yeah.
like you say, your body, you feel it. You get body pains. You're always tired. You can't energize yourself. No matter how much you sleep, you still feel tired because you're living a fake life. You're not being authentic. You're
Not being
not
your true
being
self.
you. And that to me is the root of all suffering, the root of all illness, all pain, all anger, which we then take out on other people, like you said, because then that's how you might feel it. It might be angry. I'm angry at the world, and you blame everyone, and then you like end up snapping at someone even when they haven't done anything, and then you blame them, and it's like, no, it's because you are living a lie, and if you live a lie, you're gonna die. I just needed to rhyme that with something.
Yeah. But no,
Make
it
sense.
is, and coming with another rhyme is
Your soul dies.
your
Go for it.
your heart proposes, or your
Yep.
soul proposes, and your brain disposes, right? That's what
Oh, say
happens.
that
Your
again.
heart
Say that again.
your
I like
heart
that.
proposes and your brain
Yeah.
disposes. And this is another quote from our course, and William said it, and it's so true because it does. You're literally going, ooh, this is what, like, something comes up, right? And you might not
Yeah.
be in tune with your intuition, but you get that gut feeling, or that feeling of like, oh, I should do this. And then immediately a
Yeah.
swarm of thoughts
Yeah.
around what you should do, which is your ego going, your brain
Yeah.
going, well, what happened? What will happen? What if you fail? What if this? What if that? Whatever, all
Yeah.
your fears and all, what is so and so going to think? What is so and so going to think? Well, they did such a better job. And then comparisons and
Yeah.
anguish and fear. And eventually,
Yeah.
if you
It
do
wins.
it, it's not what you
Yeah.
first thought of. It doesn't look anything like
Yes.
it, right?
Yes.
It's not that at
Yes.
all. Or
Uh-huh.
you don't do it at all. So you've
Yeah.
completely hidden it, right?
And that's exactly it. Like I had that thing come to me quite a few times and I haven't mastered it. I still mess this up all the time. But I basically, like you say, as soon as the intuitive hit comes and the wisdom comes, I have to act fast. I have to do it. I don't care. And even though the fear comes like half a millisecond afterwards or something, if it's something scary, I have to distinguish between that tiny split nanosecond of intuition versus that nanosecond of fear that comes straight after it, see the difference between the two and go with the intuition. And I have to be fast. Otherwise, like you say, that snowball of ego and mind and fear will just railroad. And that's it. And that's
But it
my
is
thing I don't do.
powerful.
I don't act fast. So it's very powerful. Yeah.
And yeah, because I mean, think about it. You've been doing that, 20, 30, 40, 50, some people years of your life. That's how you have something, and then they go, well, think about it cautiously, right? And I'm not saying to start doing things without thinking. Don't do things by thinking. Start doing
Yeah.
things by feeling and more intuitively feeling, right?
Intuitive. Yeah.
It's and
Knowing.
so it's like,
Knowing. Do
and
it by your
knowing, and
knowing.
just
Yeah.
because when we don't know that we go, well, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And what's it going to look like? And
Yeah.
what colors do I use? The
Yeah.
questions, as soon as we've learned, right? As soon as the questioning comes in,
Yeah.
that's our ego.
Yeah.
The first question that arises is just going to lead to a stream of a waterfall, even of questions
And
that
that's
you're
where
not going
they're
to know the
all
answers for,
no.
and
That's
you're
where
going
all
to
that
look for
stuff
them.
comes in, which is, what does everyone else think? What does everyone else think? What does everyone else going to think? What would they like it to be like? What they might. And also the silly thing about that is you're trying to get into someone else's head, and you're basically just making up your own stories. Like, how the hell do you even know what they're thinking? Like, I will do that about a total stranger. There could be, let's say, there's a potential client who I've only had a 5-minute phone call with once in my life. And then I will start making up stories in my head about what I think they're thinking about me. How do I know in my little ego head? I mean, intuitively we can know some things, right? But I don't do it from intuition. In my ego, I'm making up all this scenario and story about this person, and it's nothing but a complete story in my own head. And that is, to me, absolute insanity. And that is then what will take me down the road of not being myself and trying to contort myself to meet a story that doesn't even exist because I made it up in my own head anyway. While you
Exactly.
talk, I'm just going to check my mic settings. Go for it, Ree.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna agree with that. I mean, we make it up. We do things, and then our expectations of situations cause us to then react in certain ways, and it's like then you start working out of, you've stopped being yourself, right? You've now given control to the situation and to everybody else, and you've given away your control. and your power. Because how can you be yourself if, you're waiting, I've created this, and I understand when you work, when it's in a work environment and you have to deliver a project and stuff. And again, being yourself when you, okay, let me just stop there for a second. Being yourself in a workplace. We're talking about being yourself and how hard it can be, right? And we've been talking a lot about in our creativity, in our creative work. How about just being yourself? Hey, you're going for an interview? No problem. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
First of all, what everybody's opinion of me is may not even be my true self. So what they're saying to me is be your, they know Rita as the bubbly, laughy, outgoing, go-getter, crazy. Go be that person, right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go, well, I can't be that person. I'm going to an interview.
Yeah.
So if I can't be that person and no one knows who I truly am, because even I'm struggling or hiding who I truly am, well, who am I going to be? You're going to be someone completely different. Who are you going to be in your interview? Parts of your Rita bubbly outgoing, parts of my bubbly outgoing personality might come out. Other parts of my repressed personality probably won't, because I'm so afraid of being judged on who I truly might be. Right? So who are you being in that interview? Great. Okay, so you've now been who you are in that interview. You get the job because your qualifications and who you are, because they make you who you are too, right? Are good enough, and you've gotten the job. Now you're in this role for months or years or decades. You have not for a second been who you are. You are being who you were hired to be. You are being what people's opinions of you are. Where are you being yourself? And then you think why there's stress and anxiety, and you come home and you just want to, when you come home
You're
behind
so
closed doors,
tired and
you're tired and you're exhausted, and you've
because
had
you've
this
been
great time.
faking it all day. That's
You're someone
exhausting.
else. It's freaking exhausting.
It's
But
really tiring.
But you don't realize because you've never tapped into who you are.
Yeah.
Or there is the other spectrum of who you are and you're so afraid of who you truly are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you're living the life of someone completely different.
Do you know what's funny? Like what came to me was that as you're talking about like, just being yourself, the ease. I'm just gonna press a button here for 1 second. The ease of which it is to be yourself. It's actually
it's your fears about what people think and blah 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 that makes it feel like a difficult thing. Can you not hear me?
Sorry, you've gone fishbowl. You're like underwater.
Okay, I'm going back to the other one.
Just deal with the echo. Just ignore it.
Yeah. How about now?
It's fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, and then we'll go to some comments as well. We've got some good comments coming through. Yeah, like being yourself is actually quite easy. Like, do you know what came to me earlier was when I was posting on this is really interesting. I think this is something we could try, people in our lives. When you're in a rush and you're like in a flow and you're doing so, actually no, I have to think this through a little bit before I say it. I'm just gonna stop that part for a moment. But essentially what it was is like I've been really busy, and then you reminded me that I haven't posted anything about this live, and I was like, oh, okay. So then I saw you done some, so I shared, and because I had so much on, and I didn't have time to sit and think about it. So I was really just being myself, and the words that came out from my fingers and my brain on the live were stop living a fake ass life. And I was like, because that's how I talk. And that's me being me. But normally I'm trying to curate what would be the right word. I may not think about it in this way, but how should I explain this? And how we and that's all of that messing around. Whereas actually free flowing, authentic communication is on point, does what it needs to do, says what it needs to say, comes out in your most natural and authentic way and energy, job done. And because I didn't have time to think about it, so I was like, yeah, stop living a fake ass life, done, let's go. And that's who I am. That is me. Like in whereas and the other parts of me, it's not that they're not me, but I guess they are the less functional, less effective parts of me. So for example, when I do have time, and I spend hours curating a post and trying to find the right words. And when you do the writer's course, you'll get a lot about this because it's really interesting. And he just talks about something like, stop thinking about what you want to say and just say it. Because that's what we do, especially when you're writing. Right, I'm trying to think about what I want to write and say. He's like, no, just say it. And that's what I did on that post. Stop living a fake ass life. Done. Not, how do I write it? Should I swear? So
Yeah.
it's so easy to be your true self.
And
You just make it.
I just want to add a little story. And like, we think of being our true self. And sometimes I think what comes across is you're talking about being your true self. And many people talk about maybe in your gender or your sexuality, right? That's a big thing of just be yourself, and just and that has been a big thing, and we're moving towards I guess a society where everything is more generally accepted, and it's becoming easier, etc., right? But that's not where it stops. Like when someone says be yourself, it isn't just like your sexuality or what you might identify as, right? But I do want to just use an example of that, just so maybe people can relate, is that I had a friend who, oh my God, this person was just depressed all the time, and they had, the thing is, we were really good friends, and we had this, like, I could see their bubbly and shiny personality, right? And that they're hiding something, and I could only imagine, like, behind closed doors, what they were like just flicking on the music sometimes and singing and dancing and being this completely different person in the shadows. And they lived in the shadows, right? They lived in their own shadow. And then outside, they had to be someone completely different. And one of the things I really, I guess, felt even now is I felt for and feel for is that your circumstances, which is your family, friends, work, everything else outside of you is stopping you, right? It's creating this fear. But it brings me back to what you said about more than half of that fear is what's in your head. Because when this person actually came out with their secret, there were people that were like, oh, and people are gonna judge. People are always going to judge you. You have to remember that, because they have their own struggles, and that's their reaction of not dealing with their real selves and their true selves, and many other things, right? But they're always going to judge. But at the end of the day, this person's life was easier. In simple words, their life became such a flowing, they were sleeping, there was no depression, there was happiness and joy. And it's not like other people made them happy. It's not something someone else did to be like, oh, are you happy now? No, they were allowed to express themselves freely. They were allowed to speak and be, and their family accepted it. And yes, there were feelings, but again, those are their family's biases and shit they got to go through, and culturally and through the years, that's again, break the cultural norms, right? Just because you're afraid of the judgments and the everything else that's going to come in it. I just want to bring it really back to how can you be your true self? For me, what I think, you really just have to go down and first accept the fact of, why are you hiding it? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it shame? Is it is it like the you're not going to be accepted and nobody's going to want you? To, okay, once you know that those are the reasons, what would you do if everyone did accept you? And what would you do if everyone did love you and be okay with it and celebrate you? Would you be different? Would you really be yourself then? And if you would, then shut the F up and do it, because you can't control what they're going to do. You need to free yourself. No one else is going to do it for you.
No. And it's interesting is, as soon as you accept yourself, it doesn't actually matter what other people think. And that's the hardest bit, or at least it feels like the hardest bit. But yeah, that's exactly it, and I'm going to do a couple of comments quickly here. So Mo joined us. Hello, darling. I don't know if he's still with us, but it's so nice to see you. Missing listening to my wisdom. Well, I'm here every Wednesday with Rita, so if you want more wisdom, we have plenty of that. Jim says, I'm not a brown girl. Thanks, Jim. Really? Really? Because last time we spoke,
I don't know. I'm starting to wonder.
But he gets that all the time. Obviously, I assume, Jimmy, you were talking about something that we were on earlier. Jim said, my mother always compared me with others, and I was supposed to be the best, so I learned to rebel. I wonder if this is why us three, me, Rita, and Jimmy, are always here every week together having this session, because we're all rebels. I feel we've all turned to that side of like, no, I'm going to rebel.
But are we
that's
being
exactly
rebels, or
it.
are we being true to ourselves?
We're being true to ourselves. We're being true to ourselves. Oh, Mo is here. Hello, lovely. Thumbs up, darling. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. But yeah, that's it. And that's the funny thing, right? Being yourself is seen as being rebellious. Mo says, yeah, that's it, right? Just be yourself, but not like that. That sums it all up to me. You know, and I mean, in a way, actually, I think I'm even more appreciative of, at least from my experience in my family, particularly in my culture, it's been pretty much, no, this is how you should be. At least it's not like, oh, be like that, be yourself. But no, not quite like that. It's actually just been, no, this is how you should be, end of. And if you don't want to be it, then you're gonna have problems. But I guess it's at least a little bit more straightforward, but equally difficult.
I actually just want to add something completely off topic, but kind of, is that I've found that brown parents in the UK are like 74,000 times more strict than brown parents in
Canada.
Well, Canada at least. I've just found, I've had friends that have had like really strict parents, like strict, but I mean, not to the point where like the stories I've heard from the UK, not even like.
I agree. I noticed that as well when I started coming to Canada all those years ago and meeting all of your family.
Well, our family is an exception, not the rule. Okay.
Yeah, but no, that's true. But it generally, the whole vibe is slightly different, and just what I see when I see people online who are like from that area, and Asians from that area, and just the way they talk about their lives, and people like who have their own shows and all that sort of stuff, there just does tend to be more of a liberalism, I guess, if that's the right word. But over here, no, the British Browns are very strict. British Browns never say like that, but they're very strict. And not all of them. There's always a few. But generally,
in Britain, I think they more the rule.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And I think, you know, when they all came over in that certain time, however many years ago, they all really stayed in really small, tight-knit, close communities, living next to each other, door by door, in the same house. And I don't know if they do that in Canada as well. I know generally you have a lot more space over there, so you've got a bit more space to like be free. But there was just like you're cramped together, and they just really stuck to, you know, and I'm sure there's
and holding on to traditions.
Yeah,
I think it was more than holding on to traditions, though. Because in India, I was going to say, in India, like having grown up there and lived there for a few years, India is like, we think of it as like, no, you can't do this, and there's taboos and things that still exist. Of course, it's India, but I mean, in terms of like the upper middle class and the society that lives there, like if we were to live there right now, middle class and upper middle class, man, girl, like it's just come on, Bollywood is in India for screaming out loud. Like I was gonna swear, but like Bollywood is worse than Hollywood. My cousins have gone, and like people I know have gone and like tried to become an actor, and the stories, it's just, but that's Bollywood. Even in real life, that's what's happening. India does not hold on to cultures, and things exist, but they've become so westernized that you're literally like, they probably look at people in Britain and even in Canada and go, wow, you're
still doing that.
Stop. So,
do you know, like you say, it's interesting because I think there's a lot of deeper psychology to it, and I think it comes down to a number of things that I would relate to colonization and trauma from that, but also comes down to family. And just you know, we pass things on generationally, right? So I think
that's
that
a big
is part of it. But I definitely think there's something to do with the wider as well, and also being over here, I know that, you know, back in those days, that generation, parents' generation, would have had a lot of racism and had a lot, and Britain as well has got a very long history. So again, Canada again is quite a new place, really. But Britain's been going, the British Empire, the British thing, you know, it's been going, and English people and white people, and you know, like I'm sure no one watching gets offended when I use these words. Like I don't know what you can say nowadays without people getting offended. Like
you know, can't say,
what I'm talking
like you
about.
probably can't say pigeon, you'll piss you'll piss someone off
someone
if
will
you
get
talk
annoyed
about a
and
bird. Like,
report us. Like,
we're just
but
gonna be ourselves. So we're not trying to offend
exactly.
anybody. We just want to make that clear.
Exactly.
There is
But
no,
you
yeah.
know, that whole thing it's very old, and so when, and it's been going for a long time. So when, you know, Indian people, brown people came over, you know, around the times of colonization came over, there was a lot of racism, a lot of rejection, and so they got tighter and tighter in their communities, you know, because outside was more, you know. So I think there's all these things that get involved that make you get more and more stuck in these ways, and it became even more important maybe to hold on to who you think you are because everyone else is rejecting it. Go for it. What?
You just no. I was just like saying yes. That's it. Keep going. Finish. Because
Oh
I
no,
do
that was
want to.
it. That was it.
That is like bang on. Who you think you are. Your last sentence
Yeah.
is what you just said. It was just
Yeah.
who do you identify with, right? It brings us back to literally our topic today, which is
Yep.
be yourself. And
Yep.
if yourself and your generational self is holding on to these cultures, and I'm like does come down from our grandparents, great grandparents, and they were never, which is funny because in Hinduism and in India, like, you know, wisdom and spirituality is huge,
I know,
right?
right?
And it's always been
I've never
huge.
quite been able to reconcile that. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You come from this culture
Right,
of
and
true
it's so,
beautiful wisdom, and yeah.
but then it's everything else that's formulated, the expectations and the you shoulds, right? That you shoulds from
I know.
parents that have been passed down
Yeah.
because this is the way things have always been, and this is the way
Yeah.
things should be. So you should fit into
Yeah.
that because we don't want to
Yeah.
break the chain, and you don't want to be the broken link.
Exactly. Shame, and it's shame again. Don't bring shame on the family if you don't do what
Mm.
you're supposed to do. And here's the thing that I think I find most painful about it is that parents will allow their own children to go into really unhappy lives if it means ticking the cultural boxes. That's it. And I will say, I know many who followed the traditions and are very happy, which is fantastic. And when I say very happy, look, life is life. We all have struggles, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter where you live, what you're doing. But generally, they're good. But I know there are groups, for example, on Facebook of 1,000 people, if more, not more, many who are struggling because they went in to meet the expectations of their family and their culture and whatever, despite it not being who they truly were and what they truly wanted. And they are now stuck in marriages and families where they hate it, and it's screwing their mental health, it's screwing their everything, and they can't stand their lives because they didn't have the courage. And I don't say that in a bad way or blame them in any way, because it's very difficult to be yourself. This is the other quote. To be yourself in a world that's trying to make you something else is really, really difficult. That's not the exact quote. That's my version of it. You can Google it if you want to see the exact quote. But that's essentially it. So I don't look down on anyone who's followed a path that's inauthentic, because I know how hard it is, because I've spent my whole life fighting. Not fighting isn't the right word, but having the courage to not go down roads that other people wanted me to go down, and having to face the shame and the judgment of that. But here's the thing. The shame and the judgment of other people who think I don't meet their expectations is nothing for me personally compared to the feeling of waking up each day living a fake life, living a life that isn't true to me. If I was a doctor and, you know, married with like 4 kids, no, but not, do you know what I mean? Like,
I know. I
when
mean,
I made that
just you
face,
as a doctor with 4
it's
kids. Like, what would we talk
it
about?
just
I
it's
don't want
not
to be a
me,
friend.
right? Exactly. Like, I think this is why we get on, because we're totally in that same zone of like, we don't fit.
Not
And
doctors, all right? Maybe
exactly.
spiritual doctor.
And
Oh, I like that.
I
Spiritual
like that
doctors.
spiritual doctor. That I could do with that one. I can work with that one.
Gonna write that down.
Yeah. We could make a degree, a course just on that. You can get qualified as a spiritual doctor. I'm sure there
Or
are
PhD.
holistic. Yeah. But basically, yeah, no, like, you know, to me, that's just not me. And that has meant that I'm the odd one out. of a lot of people as well, especially when you think about like Indian families, right? It's massive. So I'm the odd one out.
You're the black
And
sheep.
people looking at you. Yeah, black sheep, or as I heard it called, the psychedelic sheep. And it's hard. It's not easy because people looking at you, and sometimes they're very obvious and they say it to your face, "Why are you not married? Why not you do?" And it's like, it's not easy. And so I can see why people go into roads that are not true to themselves because it feels easier. But my view is, hell no. Like, it feels easier, but actually it's not. I don't think it is, because then you have to wake up every day feeling horrible inside, and that is gonna screw you. So no, I wouldn't do it. I would just
and on that, I just want to add is basically that's not going to go away, right? Like, I think I think culture is beautiful, right? And we're going to learn about cultures, and you're going to always be exposed to that. But maybe as newer age parents, right, millennial parents, we might want to, once we know and get this wisdom, for our future generations or whoever's having kids, it might be helpful to remember that and we're knowledge, right? So it's so good that we have access to all this knowledge and wisdom all over the world now that we didn't maybe before. And so that really gives people the option to truly kind of just tap into things and be themselves, right? And instead of forcing, they're maybe learning how to give direction, but not take over the wheel and let them be in charge of the wheel per se.
Exactly.
Right? It's more just your parents. You have to give direction and guidance, because kids are going to do some dumb shit. They're always going to do dumb shit. But it's so important to just understand and not really don't be disappointed if they don't want to be a lawyer. Like, that's what you want for them. But what did they want when you're gone? Because you will be at some point. They need to be happy with this decision for the rest of their life. And don't be upset if they decide to change their career halfway through, and and don't put those generational expectations on them. Expectations, period, are bad. I'm not saying don't be like, oh, you didn't come first in school, but don't say that also, right? Everyone wants their kid to be first in school.
I'm not saying don't say it, but don't say it.
but don't just be mindful about it. Be mindful about the words that you're using with your kids because the words again hold so much power.
Yeah.
So
the thing you said about what is wrong with me today? I can't hold a thought for more than like 4 seconds. What were you saying? Maybe I haven't had enough tea. I need tea.
Cultural expectations, taking the wheel and just giving direction instead of taking the wheel.
Got it. Nice. Thank you, Don. So it was a quote by Satguru, and he said, now I'm going to mess it up because whenever I try and say a profound quote, I mess it up. But it's something along the lines of, your children they're not yours. They come through you. But they're not yours. They don't belong to, I think that's it. Your children don't belong to you. They come through you. And it's that acknowledgement and recognition that another life is entirely sovereign, created by, in my view, and the word I use is God, but others may use others, like, universal intelligence, whatever. And it's being in its own right. And it comes through this physical channel, which is another pair of humans, into this world. That's it. It's not yours. You don't own another life. You don't. And then I think that's what people get really, and I can understand it. I mean, I don't have kids, but even I get like over my nephews, and I'm like, oh, they're my babies. But at the same time, it's like they're sovereign souls. And it's that ability to balance that. And I don't know how. Yeah, but protection is one thing. Like protection and learning how to live. Yeah, like, don't jump into the fire. Obviously you're going to teach them that. Don't eat the food without chewing it. But even then, can you tell I'm not a parent? Can you tell I have no idea what you teach your parents? Teach your kids. Teach your parents.
Yes, I have taught my 2-year-old not to jump in fire.
I don't know how
don't jump in the fire. As a parent, I've done my job. My kid doesn't jump in fire. We are good.
And I told him to chew his food, so I'm the best parent ever. Maybe this is why I'm not sure I'm ever
Okay, we're
going
not
to
giving.
have
I just want to make it
children.
clear: we're not giving parenting advice. We're just telling you to be true to yourself,
Never
so that
take
you can.
parenting advice from me.
So no, but I think what we're saying is be true to yourself as your. So
Yeah.
if you can be your own self and your true self, and not kind of remember, if you were a product of a hand-me-down from generations, and your thoughts and feelings were hand-me-downs from generations, and they're not your true feelings,
Yeah.
right? Then what you're gonna do to your kids, you're gonna do hand-me-downs too, and you're gonna do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we
Hand
got to
down
break the
cultures,
cycle.
hand down, teach about cultures, teach about all the cultures and all the things that things you used to do in your family, and good things,
Yeah.
bad things. Talk about them. Do
Mm.
not tell them and make them believe that that's what they have to do,
Exactly.
because they don't. And
And
that's
here's
the
the
only
funny
advice I
thing.
give, so they can be themselves and their true selves. That's not parenting advice. That's just
No.
advice for anyone. Be yourself. Be your goddamn
Yeah.
self.
There's another quote which I'm going to mess up, but please Google it. Which basically says something along the lines of it was so funny.
Oh, I just got a vision of me writing a quote for you. It's literally going to be like, Pinky says something along the lines of.
That is literally, that sums it up. You got to do that. You got to make that. We're going to make that into a meme. Or we can put it in our book, our quotes book. But it was basically something like tradition is rules made by dead people, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it,
Traditions are rules made by dead people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we're following them, particularly like even hundreds and hundreds of years later, if not more than hundreds of years later. We're following rules made by dead people hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and we're living in a totally different world right now with totally different challenges, with totally different people. Everything's totally different, and we're still
But those are
following
the
those
same.
rules. I mean, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And here's the other thing: people don't even know why they do it. I think we've spoken about this in one of the other episodes. I used to, when we talk about celebration, I think, because we do all these festivals, and like you were saying, I love our culture. I love the color. I love the food. I love the music. I love the energy of it. I love the true meanings and the roots of the spiritual side of it. I love all of that. But when you sit down and say to people, why are you doing this festival? And why are you doing that? And why do you live like this? And why do you believe you have to do X, Y, Z? And they don't know why. They just do it because they were taught to do it. And to even question why gives them cognitive dissonance, and then they're usually just going to get annoyed or angry or run away because they can't handle the idea that what they're doing doesn't actually make any sense, or they don't really know why, or it's possible that maybe you don't have to do it that way. And I think our generation is a really important one, like you say, for breaking that cycle. But again, it even comes out of culture. It's just about being a human, because every human is doing it. I feel like we're picking on the Browns right now, but every culture does it. Every culture does it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's actually about being a human as well, and just understanding that whatever you did and whatever you were taught does not necessarily apply to your child. And if it does, well, no, let your child choose that when they're able to. And your job, in my view, is simply to keep moving them and nudging them in the direction of their own wisdom and guidance and soul as a parent. Obviously, tell them don't jump in the fire, chew your food. That's my parenting tips. And then and then just keep nudging them towards their soul and their own truth, and what lights them up inside, and what their gifts and talents are. And that is it. I've got a comment from Jimmy, and then I think you were going to come in there with something. So Jim said, he's sharing one from Satguru. Drop this idea that your child belongs to Jimmy. Man, how'd you get that so quickly? Did you like Google it?
Googled it.
He
said
Googled
to Google
it.
He Googled it.
So drop this idea that your child belongs to you. If you think these children belonging to you, coming into their teams, they will tell you in their own way, God damn it, I don't belong to you. Yeah, I remember that. That's it. And that's why teens get all like, oh, because they're trying to find themselves, and they're like, we're not meant to be. We're so beautifully sovereign. We're so beautifully unique. You know, when we do the greatness readings. So just for people who don't know what that is, basically you read intuitively into someone else's greatness, and you see their truth, their soul, their heart, their purpose, their nature, their gifts, their talents, and it is the most beautiful experience. And That's who each of us are. And if we could see that in our own kids and see that in everybody around us, I think the world would be a very different, and then see it in ourselves. And then, like we were saying with the topic today, is then be it. I think we would live in a very, very different world, which goes on to this question.
I mean, it goes with this, right? If you were fully yourself every day, I feel like we're off questions. I don't know which ones. We've kind of covered them all, but
yeah, we have a bit.
If you were fully yourself every day, but I think what does that even mean, right? And what really came out of all of this for me is separating yourself from those cultures, from the traditions, from your expectations or people's expectations of you. You know, are you a doctor? Do you identify as yourself because you're a doctor and that's what your doctorate makes you who you are? But what were you before you got your doctorate and went to school? What were you before that? Were you nothing? Were you an absolute worthless piece of whatever because you didn't have a doctorate, and now you have a doctorate, so now you're a doctor, so that's who you are as a person? No, being yourself means, you know, knowing and being aware of these things and being aware of the cultures that are beautiful and in so many, across cultures, right? Across different cultures. I'm not just talking about the brown culture, the Italians, the Greeks, like there's just so much ancient history and wisdom, and it's beautiful.
I love it. Yeah.
But really learn. And even as adults, you know, once with kids, it's never too late, right? Whether you have had a falling out with your kids, because the idea that you're doing something in your life to please someone else. Oh, my mom would be really disappointed, or my mom would be proud of me. Yes, this is natural. We're humans. We have those things of, like, you know, validation requirements from our parents. You know, I want my parents to be proud of me. I want my dad to be proud of me for all of the reasons that they happen for. But when you become aware and truly aware and really aligned in yourself and are able to see that greatness within you, you will see that your soul doesn't identify with a title. It doesn't identify with a piece of art you created. You know, that doesn't make, yes, you might be an artist, but that's not who you are. It doesn't identify with your personality that we've learned, right? We do the Enneagrams and see this is my personality type, but that doesn't define you and yourself and your true self. You don't have to be one thing. I just want to put that out there. You don't have to be one thing. You can be a million different things and enjoy every part of it, because it's not one thing that maybe makes you happy, right? And why do you think that confining yourself to doing one job and one career your whole life, or you know, just being stuck with one type of thing,
it's weird, right?
It's going to make you happy, because
it's so weird.
Not one thing.
It's so weird. Like, it's a line I always use. You can't put, because I've said this to people, and they ask me, what do you do? Describe what you do. What are you about? What do you do? What do you do? I'm like, I cannot put my soul in a box. Stop trying to make me put my soul in a box. Like, I don't bloody know. Like, yes, okay, I need to articulate some stuff. But the idea that you have to take this unfolding, you know, boundless spirit, creative source and spirit, imagine just a whirl of colors, and try and cram it in a box and go, yeah, okay, it does that, it does that, it does that. And that's all it's going to do. It's insane. It doesn't work. And it's like, why are you even trying to do that? It don't work. But we find that really hard. The ego finds that really hard, because the ego needs tick, 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 box, rigid, structure, control. Understand it, logic, makes sense. That's what the ego wants. But the soul is this boundless color of unbound energy that can take any shape, any form. They don't go together, and that's the battle of our lives.
Because society makes it that way, though. We're always trying to fit in, right? We're always trying to fit into these norms of society, right? Like back in the 60s, it's like, oh, were you a housewife? Were you an army wife? Were you, you know, like what?
Were you smoking pot somewhere?
Were you part of the rock? Were you part of the 70s? You know, were you part of the rock and roll generation? You know, did you go to rock like? What did you identify with, right? Oh no, you're gay, or you're a lesbian, you know, like you're homosexual. Like that's it. You're a total, like, you don't even exist in our society. So that means that everything is wrong with you, because because we haven't defined something that we can identify you under, right? So remember, you're always trying to fit into a society that is created, and it's this hardship. But once you really become okay with being yourself, and whether you can explain it to someone else or not, the feeling that you're going to feel of waking up in the morning and truly just being who you are and being in your skin, being okay with being in your
That's
skin
freedom.
and everything.
Freedom. Yeah. True
You're
freedom.
you're not gonna give two shits about what society thinks. And I mean, there's a whole other topic of unfortunately, if you want to go work a job at some place, you know, and you got to do this and this and this because that's what they want, and you got to fit into their box, right?
Yeah.
Whole other topic.
I'm hoping. Sorry, I've just seen a comment.
Wait, Jim, that's a great question. Can I quickly address that? Because these
Jimmy
days,
has a question saying,
Jim's
"What if
question
I
is,
identify as a potato?" I fucking love it.
what if I identify as a potato? Well, you know, what if I identify as a male Filipino man? Because there is a guy who has come out now and said that he identifies as a female Filipino. And there's another guy who's come out and had eye surgery and said that he identifies as a Korean woman. So, I mean, these things were bound to come up when we have over 74 genders now. We have 74 and counting genders types, okay? These things are going to happen. Identifying with something versus being your true self. The whole problem is that we try to identify with something. Why? Why are we identifying with something? We didn't come out here with something. What if nothing else existed? What would you identify with? What if there wasn't another single thing on the planet? What would you identify with? What if potatoes didn't exist, Jimmy? What would you do?
What would you be? Who would you be if you weren't a potato?
Who would you be then? You would be nothing, right?
But it's a really,
you are
really good point you made. Well, you're a soul. Your life. To me, that's the root of it. Yeah. That's the question I think people, if they want to really go on an adventurous journey and have a wonderful life, that's the question you seek under. But this idea, I mean, I have a lot to say. I'm not going to get into it too much because we got to close this off soon. But the whole labels and identifying as this, I could go, is the most misguided movement ever. Now, that doesn't mean that people's intentions are pure, in that they think they're trying to create oneness. I see what they're trying to do. But you tell me the logic of creating oneness by putting more and more labels and divisions in between people, and more differences, and more pointing out more differences, and more labels, and more groups, and more separations, and more. How does that give you oneness? Fucking dumb. That's all I'm saying on that topic. That's all I'm saying on that topic. We have no wisdom. It makes me angry. I'm getting angry now, so I'm not going to talk about it because it makes me angry because it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And it lacks wisdom. It lacks wisdom. And the reality is, forget all that. Why waste your time with all these labels? Go to the root. What are you? Heart, soul, life, human. These are the things we all have in common. That's what makes us one. What really makes us one? What's the pinnacle of oneness? Energy, soul, consciousness. That's where we really are one. So why not go straight there instead of faffing around down here with all these labels and things that make us different, thinking that they're going to make us the same? Doesn't even make sense, for God's sake. What planet are people on? Jesus. So really, it's like, you know, go to the root of the pyramid at the top, the tip of the pyramid. Where are we really one? In soul, in energy, in spirit. Go straight there. And that's what this to me is about. Being yourself, go there, be that. Be your soul, be your truth, be what inspires you, be what makes you excited to wake up in the morning, be the gifts and talents that you were naturally given. That's what genius is. It's natural ability. Look it up. Natural ability. We all have natural abilities. Be that, express that, live that. No matter what anyone says, don't suppress it. It's your gifts. Why not give your gifts to the world? The world needs your gifts. And you're too busy trying to be something else that you take, you keep it away. You keep those gifts away from the world, which is such a disservice to the whole world and everyone else as well.
You're so
but I understand.
Selfish
you selfish people.
Selfish.
I get it, dude. I get it. We've been conditioned to conform.
Look at what my pencil says.
What does your pencil say? I can't read it. I can't read it. It's like, I can't read it. Oh my
Well,
God. Tell
you read
me.
now?
Express yourself. Oh my God. Did you know it said that?
No.
That's so cool. I love it. That's
We'll just
magic,
end on that.
peoples. That's
Express
magic.
yourself. Be
Express
yourself.
yourself,
And if you
darling.
don't know what your true self is, stop, listen, learn. I feel like that's like the every one we do. Stop,
It comes up. Yeah.
listen, learn.
Yeah.
Stop, listen, learn to yourself. Stop, listen, learn.
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. All right, let's close
And
it.
that's
We've done over an hour and a half. So thank you, everybody. And thank you if you watch later on. Do put your thoughts in the comments as we go later on. Yeah, so we will catch you next week.
See you later.
I was waiting for
Be
you to jump in. I
yourself.
was like, peace out,
Don't forget
peeps.
to be yourself.
Take care. See you soon. Bye.